All right, so sales calls, meetings, whatever you want to call them, are super stressful. I mean, they're really hard, right? Basically, at the end of the day, I mean, it's up to these sales appointments, that's what I'm going to call them, appointments, that really determine whether or not your business grows. And that puts a lot of stress on you. I mean, literally during a sales appointment, you have to listen actively, not just thinking about what your next response is going to be. You need to be able to repeat facts back to your lead. You need to be able to remember those facts. You need to be able to go over your offerings and handle objections, which are no easy feat. And then of course comes the close, which is probably the hardest part of all, if you're not doing it right. And I mean, so we know all of this, but so then why is it so difficult? Why do we have so many challenges when it comes to sales calls? Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves? So what if there was a way where we could like flip a switch and then basically do our very best during a sales call on a consistent basis? Well, there is, and it's known as the flow state. We're going to talk about it today. So what is the flow state? Now, there are a bunch of definitions for it, but one, and I think it was by Stephen Kotler, that I really like, is the flow state is when you are feeling and performing your very best. Now, we've all experienced the flow state before. Some of us don't call it that. Maybe you call it being in the zone. But either way, it's basically like when time fades away and all of a sudden everything just feels effortless and it feels like you're not even controlling your body, and yet at the same time you have complete control. The flow state is what is known as a non-ordinary state of consciousness. Basically, it allows us to access parts of our brain that we can't access during conscious thought that we have on a daily basis. Think about like Limitless with Bradley Cooper. You remember that movie? Kind of like that. So how can the flow state really help us on these sales appointments? Well, on sales appointments, we can experience a plethora of things that can hold us back, such as slow memory recall, or brain fog, or stress, or distractions, just to name a few. And the flow state really allows us to kind of take each of those obstacles and really kind of just turn them around on their head. So one of the things about the flow state is it's all about focus, like singular focus. So not only will you be able to literally listen and remember the conversation you're having with this lead, you'll then turn around and be able to like repeat that conversation back or write notes about it without even ever writing things down. That's pretty awesome, right? Like brain fog, like the flow state's all about clarity and like being able to think laterally and come up with creative solutions. So imagine handling objections with creative solutions on the spot. How awesome would that be? And like confidence, again, as I mentioned earlier, in the flow state, you feel like you have total control. So imagine having total control and total conviction and enthusiasm in your close. Like you know that this is what that client needs and you don't waver. And that's what the flow state can give you. So like, how do we get into the flow state? Well, we do that through something known as flow triggers, and there's about 16 of them. Now the thing is, each person reacts to a flow trigger differently. So flow triggers that work for me may not work for you. And that's okay. So just do some experimenting and find out. But basically at the end of the day, here's a little exercise that you can do that might help. Study your scripts, study your offerings, your closing statements, whatever you want to do. Basically just like cram all that information that you need prior to your appointment, then remove yourself from that. Go do something else, something to take your mind off of it. That's kind of your flow trigger, so I can't really help you there. It's going to depend on what works for you. Then immediately do that right up to your appointment and then go right into your appointment. Click it back on and that should help activate the flow state. And if you struggle with things like this, if you struggle with trying to find that flow state and trying to find those triggers, reach out and schedule a discovery call. I'd love to sit down and chat and kind of figure out what's going to work for you. I hope this video has helped. If you liked it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you get notified when we post more videos. Also, subscribe to our mailing list so you get it in an email form, because sometimes we don't always get those notifications from YouTube, and I get it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope this helps. Catch you next time.